Hi there, Mike Fondi with Zahler Properties again, here with Geoff today.
Sliding in as usual.
Episode 9, untitled, but
double digits coming up.
We had a special request to talk about multiple offers, the nature of the market that we're in right now.
We're not going to name names, but did another agent, did another broker?
Actually, another broker agent, yes.
So a broker who
made that request.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody else is dealing with the same thing that we are right now.
We're not going to name any names.
So, so we thought we'd touch real quick maybe on the multiple offer scenario, and then also kind of segue into appraisals, which are super important. But you know, the nature of the market right now is such that we're having to write for our buyers multiple offers, and the sellers that we represent, we're having to evaluate multiple offers at the same time. And there's a number of different ways to do that, a number of different strategies. We're not going to go into any of those specifically unless you want to, but just know that through experience and the resources that we have, we've got solutions. I got online and started doing a little research today, and the National Association of Realtors even publishes they call it their field guide to multiple offers. So this scenario happens, and it is important to talk about. I found an old article I was looking at. It's about 4 years old, but it's I think very applicable today. And it said that typically in real estate transactions, about 10% of them go south or get canceled.
Sounds about
after
normal,
they've started. It said that in multiple offer situations, that number goes as high as 50%.
Wow, that's a lot different.
And it's just the complexity of operating in that environment. But one of the main things is buyers, and we've seen this, buyers get caught up in that auction mentality. Just the excitement of it, and they all of a sudden have an accepted offer, and they go, oh, wait a sec, I really didn't want that home.
Right. Buyer's
remorse immediately, and one of our jobs is to try to help people avoid that, because we don't want to waste our time or theirs. We want to write good offers for properties people want.
But let's segue into that just a little bit. Let's not get too off topic. Again, because this market is so warm, hot, we are seeing buyers write multiple offers on multiple homes. We're seeing buyers writing offers as they're literally walking through the doorstep because of timing, right? So is there any way around that, or is this just the market that we're kind of in?
Well, just constant open communication between us and our clients, I think. Constantly redefining and prioritizing what's important to them, and having them commit up front before we start writing an offer that this is a home they'll commit to if their offer is accepted. I think that's super important.
Yeah. And we can talk about what that really means, because there's a lot of ways that you can get out of a contract, but if you go through it a little bit, it's going to start costing you money potentially as a buyer too.
Absolutely, and we don't want to write a bunch of offers just so we can cancel them. But one of the things that happens is, in this type of market specifically, is, you know, if the buyer gets an offer accepted and they need to do a loan, that property has to appraise to support the sales price. So this is a very touchy area, and when we're talking about a market that is accelerating the way this one has, you mentioned to me earlier that perception is maybe not quite what an appraiser sees.
Right.
So maybe you could explain what is the appraiser looking at?
So this is really timely. Again, literally in the last 2 days, we've now had 2 different deals that I'm working with for buyers with the appraisal come in low. 2 appraisals in the last 2 days. Different price points, different parts of town. What we're seeing really is it's a fractured market, right? We see a lack of inventory. We see multiple buyers for every home. And we see sellers that are not willing to budge because there's so much demand, right? So that's part one. So what are we seeing? We're seeing offers written for over asking price. We're seeing offers written for asking price. We're seeing sellers kind of throwing a dart against the wall to figure out their price point, thinking they're going to get it, right? So that's the segment one. And unfortunately, because our clients are maybe getting rejected on offer 1 and offer 2 and offer 8, by offer 9 or 10, they're saying, you know what? Let's just pay over asking price. Let's not worry about it. and Mike, Geoff, what is the house worth? And we run comps.
Sure.
And we're not appraisers. We have a good eye for it, but we know, hey, we're probably somewhere in this range. It may not be up high, but it may be. There's support. But more importantly, this is where the market is moving, right? So that's where we are as normal citizens.
We have this thing happening over here with the buyer's agent, seller's agents negotiating and coming up with a deal,
right,
and a price.
Right. And
then we've got this third party, the appraiser, that comes in.
And that's where the issue is, right?
And I think perception is, okay, appraiser's job is completely objective, right?
It's in theory, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we're seeing now, though, again, so remember, an appraiser, their job is to give a market snapshot of the home on the date of the appraisal. It'd be like looking at a stock or something on a certain day at a certain time, knowing the values are ever changing, but an appraisal is really a snapshot. So you pause, this is what it's worth right this second.
Here, I got one for you. The owner of the home says, well, my neighbor just sold their home for X, so mine should be worth X. How come it's not appraising for that?
And the answer is, every appraiser has guidelines, but everybody looks at things differently. Everybody adjusts things differently, right? You could have an appraiser give a $25,000 for a pool. That same pool can be given a $15,000 adjustment by a different appraiser.
So that's where the subjectivity comes in.
Yeah.
So as much as the guidelines are set, and this is what an appraiser follows, there is that little bit of subjectivity that comes
Absolutely. And the other thing to think about, remember, we are seeing a perception that the market is going up right now, right? The reason we're seeing that is supply and demand. Not a lot of supply, high demand, and what's happening when prices go up. Remember, an appraiser is looking for a value, and they're doing their values not based on what we think is happening. They do their value based on where we are. So the only way that an appraiser gives an appraisal is based on sold homes that are as close to a
closed transaction.
Yes. So the
neighbor's home may still be in escrow and not even closed yet.
Right. That's rearward thinking, right? You're looking in the rear view when you're doing an appraisal. Sure. We are in a business that we're looking at where we are and where we may be going. Right. Again, I was joking, my crystal ball is just as foggy as everybody else's. Yeah. But so that's where there's a little bit of a interchange in just a disconnect of, hey, why you're pulling your hair out, and most of the time when you look at an appraisal, you can't really argue with a lot of the numbers. Now, you can say, well, why did they only give me $15,000 for my pool? Again, there is some level of subjectivity. You can say, hey, I've got beautiful stainless steel appliances. You're not going to get much on an appraisal for that, if anything. So there's that kind of disconnect, which we need to be careful of. And again, so it's writing an offer that is aggressively high to get accepted, but you have to be in that reasonable area of will it appraise?
Okay, I know you'll have a good answer for this, so I'm going to ask you the question.
Okay.
So what happens if the property doesn't appraise for the sales price?
Okay. Couple options. Basically, option one, and this is me saying, I'm pretending I'm a buyer's representative right now, okay? Option one, seller comes down and meets the appraisal, right? Because that's what the house is worth. Very rarely does that happen, especially in this market. Okay. Option two, the buyer comes out of pocket the full amount and meets the difference, whether it's $5,000 or $12,000 or what have you. The buyer would, on top of their down payment and everything, the seller would expect the buyer to come up.
So again, those are the two extremes.
Those are the two
extremes. There's a lot of room in between those to negotiate.
Right. So really, if the appraisal comes back even $1 low, it's essentially up for renegotiation. So anything can happen. So the buyer wants the seller to come back down. The seller wants the buyer to come all the way up. Usually those don't happen. If you have a seller that is a reasonable seller and understanding of the market with a good agent, and a reasonable buyer's agent with a buyer that wants the home, usually you can have that middle ground where something, maybe you meet in the middle, maybe you meet somewhere else. So those are the three options, and then obviously the fourth option is what nobody likes. You cancel the deal, you move on. The buyer is out their inspection, if they did any inspection on the home, and they're out the money for the appraisal, but they're not expected, they're not going to lose their deposit as long as everything was done correctly. But the buyer's starting over from square one. They're going to have to find another home. They're going to have to battle like this again. They're going to have to pay another inspection fee and another appraisal fee. So you don't want to get in the habit. Good way for you to lose clients is keep getting your client to lose inspection and lose appraisal money. Because guess what? It's going to probably start being your fault.
Yeah. Whether it really is or not.
Absolutely.
That's a perception.
So, but that's kind of what we're seeing, right? Again, hot market, but again, and we know people that are appraisals. We're not bad mouthing the profession, but unfortunately, we're in a situation where oftentimes you're talking about hundreds of thousands or more money about to change hands, and somebody who's paid a fee of a few $100s is the one that can decide the fate of an entire transaction.
Sure,
it's the nature of the beast. Because 90% of us that do get loans and not pay cash for a home, you need an appraisal on a home.
Absolutely. So this is obviously a subject you can talk about at length. Multiple offers. There's a lot more to talk about on that, but rather than try to go in depth on anything, I think we did a pretty good job of maybe just touching some high points.
Yep.
Love the opportunity. If anybody is interested in exploring these further, to talk with you, give you some pointers.
One more thing that you had mentioned earlier that I want to, it's a really good point on multiple offers. That say like you are an agent and I'm presenting an offer, you're the listing, I'm a buyer's agent. Can I ask you, hey, what are the other offers?
You can, and I can divulge that to you unless I've got a confidentiality agreement with my buyer or seller that doesn't allow me to do that. It seems counterintuitive a little bit, but that is the reality. Is you're, as a seller's representative, able to divulge those offers to other potential offerees.
Right.
So it's not against the rules to do that.
So again, long story short, having somebody who knows how to play within the rules of what's legal and what's practical can often give you the answer that you need. There's no harm in asking, and if an agent is refusing to give you, it's nothing you can do. But I know whenever I'm asked, as long as I don't have a seller who says you cannot say anything, I'll let him know. Sure. And that's part of it. This is we like to try to be open books here because it's all going to be found out eventually.
Absolutely. So,
all right. Well.
All right.
Do you want to give me your information?
I'm good. Yeah. You can reach me, Mike Fondi, 702-606-4660, or Mike at ZahlerProperties.com.
And I'm 702-758-4699. Really appreciate it. We'll probably talk to you guys on Tuesday. Have a good one.